and the number of corpse swarms is extremely terrifying, and can sustain battles in many places in Tianhai City. Bian Junwu raised his voice by several decibels. Then, based on this information, we can basically conclude that it is useless to just eliminate the corpses on the surface. Only by eliminating the thing called the Corpse King can we eliminate the corpse-tide turmoil in Tianhai City from the root. So from now on, I ask you major forces to move most of the population underground. Avoid being in a passive position all the time. Then concentrate the elite troops in your hands and focus on eliminating the Corpse King. Bian Junwu meant that the major bases should not be greedy for their own little piece of land. Qingpu Base should give up the steel mill, Yangsheng Base should give up the oil refinery, and Chaoyu Base should give up the port. The leaders of the three forces looked at each other. Although there was some hesitation in their eyes, they finally nodded and agreed after some consideration. In the past, they were unwilling to give up the resources on the surface because they were worried that their future living space would be affected. And even if they gave up the surface resources, they still couldn't solve the corpse tide. But now that people from the Jiangnan district have endorsed them and given them unified command, they have confidence in their hearts. Anyway, each family is busy with their own affairs, and it is impossible for them to take the opportunity to attack other forces. As long as they can eliminate the zombies, those territories and resources will still be theirs in the future. It is impossible that the zombies will be interested in resources. They are only interested in human flesh. When all the major forces sit together and form a united front, many problems will be easily solved. At this time, the high priest of the snow worship cult, who was sitting in a corner, spoke. "What should we do?" Zhang Yixian frowned, obviously unhappy. "They all have their own underground shelters and high-level shelters, but we in the snow worship cult have nothing." "Bian, sir, you can't be partial in this matter." Bian Junwu heard this and turned to look at Zhang Yixian. He just said coldly, "You have thousands of followers in snow worship sect. They joined your sect. How to protect them is the responsibility of your snow worship sect." "Do you expect us to help you protect your disciples?" Zhang Yixian's face turned ugly. Before he could refute, Bian Junwu said again, "We can only formulate tactical plans based on your current conditions. If you don't even have this awareness, you can only be destroyed by the zombie tide." Bian Junwu didn't care about whose life or death. What he cared about was whether the zombie tide crisis in Tianhai City could be eliminated and the zombie virus would not spread to the surrounding areas. Zhang Yixian gritted his teeth and clenched the chair with his right hand. "In other words, you are going to watch our people sacrifice? Moreover, if other forces go underground, the snow worship sect will undoubtedly become the biggest target of the zombie group. How can our believers survive then?" Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows with a hint of amusement on his lips. Xiao Honglian, Wei Dinghai, and Sheng Tian all looked disapproving. They really didn't care about the life and death of the snow worship sect. Xiao Honglian even sneered and said, "You have so many followers in the snow worship sect, most of whom are people without combat ability. If you don't have such great ability, don't absorb so many disciples. Now that there is a problem, you should take the responsibility yourself." She had long been dissatisfied with the snow worship sect, and naturally would not miss this opportunity to sneer. Zhang Yixian stared at Xiao Honglian with a deep, murderous intent in his eyes. At this time, Bian Junwu spoke to break the deadlock. "The existence of the snow worship sect also has its meaning. If you can't hide well, then you can play another role." Bian Junwu's words gave Zhang Yixian a ray of hope. "Oh? What are your plans?" Bian Junwu just glanced at him coldly. "I can't tell you now. It's confidential. But I will tell you the answer in 3 days at most. Now, you all go back and arrange your own people according to my orders. I will inform you of any actions next." Bian Junwu was mysterious. When everyone wanted to ask again, he just waved his hand and asked everyone to leave. no one could do anything. After all, he was a special commissioner of the Jiangnan district. They were afraid of the strength of the Jiangnan district and had to choose to obey orders. The group stood up and left the meeting room. Zhang Yi put his hands in his pockets and was about to leave when he was stopped by Bian Junwu. "Zhang Yi, wait a minute!" Everyone had different expressions on their faces. They didn't know what Bian Junwu wanted to talk to Zhang Yi about alone. But considering that Zhang Yi was the only one who solved the zombie problem within his sphere of influence, everyone understood why Bian Junwu wanted to find him. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Mr. Bian, do you have any advice?" Bian Junwu walked to Zhang Yi's side, and for the first time a smile appeared on his pale and thin face. "Can I go to your place and sit for a while?" Zhang Yi didn't expect Bian Junwu to make such a request. He frowned and subconsciously wanted to refuse. Although he knew that Bian Junwu was from the Jiangnan region, his usual vigilance made him resist any strangers from entering his shelter. Zhang Yi smiled and said, "What's so good about my place? The environment of several major bases is much better than my home. The conditions there are quite ordinary." Bian Junwu looked at him with interest and said slowly, "Why, don't you welcome me?" Zhang Yi quickly raised his hands and said with a smile, "How could that be? Of course not." Bian Junwu said, "You don't need to be too nervous. I have no ill will towards you, and there was no grudge between us in the past. Do you have to be so wary of me?" Zhang Yi just smiled and said nothing. It's better to be safe than sorry. He has never hesitated to guess people's hearts with the deepest malice. He would be cautious and suspicious of anyone he didn't know. Bian Junwu smiled. "I just want to have a good chat with you about the specific process of you destroying those zombies." As he said that, he leaned close to Zhang Yi's ear. "Besides, I also have a lot of information that you don't know." This sentence made Zhang Yi a little excited. The information that the Jiangnan district has is definitely countless times more than his. After the end of the world, Zhang Yi realized the importance of intelligence to survival and war. Therefore, he also spared no effort to collect various intelligence. He glanced at Bian Junwu, thought for a moment, and nodded with a smile. "Well, since you are so enthusiastic to visit me, I can't refuse you 1,000 miles away." After all, he is from the Jiangnan district. If it is not necessary, don't make the relationship too stiff. Bian Junwu followed Zhang Yi out, and the two walked side by side. It can be clearly seen from here that Bian Junwu's attitude towards Zhang Yi is different from that of others. But Xiao Honglian and the others did not feel dissatisfied. They and Zhang Yi are enemies, and it is true that they are hostile to Zhang Yi in their hearts. But to be fair, they also admire Zhang Yi. Starting from humble beginnings, relying on a shelter and a few teammates, he was able to occupy a corner of Tianhai City in the end times and become a hero who could compete with them. This zombie crisis was so difficult, but only Zhang Yi's family was safe and sound. If this is not strength, then what is it? When the group came out, the atmosphere outside was still tense. Chen Jingguan was blinded in one eye and could only wrap half of his head with a bandage, which looked a bit funny. After the group came out, they naturally saw this scene. Wei Dinghai's face changed slightly. Although he guessed it would be like this, he couldn't help but feel angry when his deputy was injured. "Chen Jingguan, what's wrong with your eyes?" Wei Dinghai asked in a deep voice. Chen Jingguan looked up at Wu Di and Kong Sheng, who had a playful smile on their faces. Chen Jingguan said in a muffled voice, "Chief, I'm fine. I just had a sparring match with my friends from the investigation team and got some minor injuries." It would be fine if he lost the fight, but it would be embarrassing to complain to the boss in front of so many powerful people. What's more, Chen Jingguan knew in his heart that he couldn't have a conflict with the people from Jiangnan district at this time. Wei Dinghai glanced at Wu Di and Kong Sheng and said nothing. He just patted Chen Jingguan on the shoulder and prepared to take him back to arrange the affairs of Chaoyu Base. Bian Junwu glanced at Wu Di and Kong Sheng next to him. "Didn't I tell you not to have a conflict with them?" Although his tone was as cold as ever, he was not angry. Wu Di said with a smile, "These people are not convinced of us in their hearts. We must let them know how powerful we are. In this way, they will not be dragged down by others in future actions." Bian Junwu pushed his frog glasses and said lightly, "Don't do this next time." Wu Di and Kong Sheng smiled and said, "Understood." They knew their captain. He was just talking, but in fact, this kind of action to establish authority was indispensable. If you don't have the strength, why should others obey you? Zhang Yi remained silent. Anyway, he was the one who was least affected from the beginning to the end of this matter. Therefore, he didn't need to be anxious, and there was no need to deliberately prove anything to others. As for Xiao Honglian, Wei Dinghai, and Xing Tian, they naturally had some calculations in their hearts. As Wei Dinghai's deputy, Chen Jingguan's strength should not be underestimated. Even he was easily defeated by the investigation team. You can imagine how strong the investigation team is. In the future, you should be more cautious when dealing with them and don't be too willful. Just when everyone from each faction was about to leave, suddenly, a voice came from the window on the second floor. "There are zombies approaching!" Zhang Yi looked up and saw a man in his 30s wearing black combat uniforms and with a slender figure. He was holding a black sniper rifle in his hand. It was a sniper rifle that Zhang Yi had never seen before. The shape was a bit strange, but it gave people a feeling that all light would be absorbed by it. He was the sharpshooter in the investigation team, Qi Guangming. When they heard Qi Guangming's words, they also realized that something was wrong around them. From a distance, a large number of zombies emerged one after another. At a glance, there were at least thousands of them. Xing Tian said in a deep voice, "So many of us have gathered here, and such a big commotion really attracted these damn things." The zombies climbed over from the ruins. When they saw a large number of living people in front of them, the bloodthirsty light in their eyes burst out. They let out a very strange roar in their throats, and suddenly began to run wildly from a distance, targeting everyone in the field. Seeing the zombies coming, although everyone's eyes showed a hint of disgust, no one was afraid, because the ones gathered here were the most powerful fighters in Tianhai City. Such a small number of zombies could not pose a threat to them at all. It's just that everyone is busy dealing with the affairs of their own bases and don't want to waste time here. "It's really unlucky. I can see them everywhere. Has Tianhai City become the nest of zombies?" Xiao Honglian raised her sword eyebrows and cursed angrily. Everyone was ready for the battle and planned to spend a certain amount of time to kill all the zombies here. Wei Dinghai did not forget to remind Bian Junwu and others, "These zombies must be killed. Otherwise, they will take back the information about us. They will be more difficult to deal with next time." "Oh, so that's the case?" Bian Junwu said lightly. He suddenly walked down the steps, reaching out to take off his sunglasses as he walked. When he took off his sunglasses, everyone suddenly discovered that his eyes were not normal black, nor were they the sky blue of foreigners. It was a strange yellowish white, but there was a strange and sickly light in the yellowish white. It was not the dullness of cataracts, but after taking a look at it, people felt a strong shock in their hearts. Bian Junwu walked to the front of the crowd. Everyone immediately understood that the captain of the Jiangnan District Investigation Team was going to take action himself. Zhang Yi's eyes flickered, and he also wanted to see how strong the captain was. The group of corpses in front of them roared and rushed over, less than 500 meters away from everyone. Everyone could clearly see their blood-red pupils and the frozen, rotten flesh on their bodies. Bian Junwu looked ahead and suddenly whispered, "Destruction."